If you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go.
Hey, you came back. I'm so glad. I've been sitting here waiting for y'all. Anyway, today is Monday, April 8th, and it is now 8:45 p.m. Eastern Time. There are no Q posts today, despite some people on Twitter, fake accounts, claiming that there are. There are not. So be careful who you're listening to, who you're following, as always, as Q says, and don't take anybody's word for anything, including me. If I say something that you think, gee, that might not be right or that might be off, please let me know in the comments below, because I'm more concerned with getting the truth out there than I am about being right. We all make mistakes. So anyway, let's get into the news that I should have brought to you last night and the night before that. So anyway, and I hope you can hear me. I will do a sound check. I did do a sound check on the one that I just uploaded and made sure that you could hear me. So hopefully this one will be fine as well. Now, let's get into the news. But first, wanted to show you guys this, and it is in the description below the video. If you look in the description, there's a link to this, but I need to get some more things designed and uploaded here. But I did do a couple of I did a kofifi, or kofefe, as a lot of people pronounce it, and I'm not sure which is correct, but I did do this mug, which you can get in a variety of colors. And also, this is the kofefe mug, and it has kofefe both on the front and the back of it. And let's go back over here, and here is a Q mug. And it only comes in the one color because I didn't think that any other color it would show up as well. But it's a Q mug with a patriotic motif. So there you go. And these products are available, and it does go to support the channel and support any upgrades that I need, anything like that. So anyway, let's get into the news now. Enough of that. Get out of there. And as you can see, the last Q post was March 29th. If anybody says any differently, they're lying. So let's get into the news, shall we? Of course we shall. All right, this from Lori Hendry. Let this sink in. You cannot give a convicted murderer in New York a lethal injection, but you can give the exact same lethal injection to a living, breathing baby after a failed abortion, after it is born alive. Yeah, talk about some mixed up priorities there. Yeah, you can't give a lethal injection to a prisoner, but you can if a baby during an abortion is born alive. You can give it the same lethal injection. Seems a little bit hypocritical and actually outrageous, but I've come to expect that. It seems things are every day that I'm pouring through the news. Sometimes I have to step back, and I started going to the gym, to do, there's a lot that I can't do because of a spinal injury, but I want to do the things that I can do to maintain the mobility that I do have. So been going to the gym, and it does get rid of some stress, because let me tell you, pouring through the news day after day gets extremely depressing, because you start to think that there's no good left in the world. And sometimes I get into that where I'm thinking, you know what, is there anything good? Is there anything right? Is there anything righteous in the world anymore? Are there any people that are trying to do the right thing, a good thing? Are there any good people left? And when I start to get to that point, I have to step back a little, because of course that is a skewed world view. There are still good people. There are still good things that happen in this world. And not everyone or everything is evil. And I do have a couple stories here tonight to show you that are feel-good stories that will warm the deep, dark cockles of your heart. No, they really will. I know, you're probably saying, I didn't know my heart had deep cockles. It does. It does. All right, so here, along the same line, leftists want to end capital punishment because it doesn't respect the human dignity of life. Why don't they want to end abortion? That's life. I don't know. Now I'm against all abortion, and that's because of my religious views, and I believe in God. I believe that all life is sacred, so I disagree with all abortion. However, I do understand, like, placing myself in someone's position where they're pregnant with an unwanted child, they can't, whatever their circumstances, I can almost understand when, I'm not saying I agree with it. I said I can almost understand when somebody has an abortion when it's weeks or a month old or whatever. But what I will never, ever understand is how somebody could be 9 months pregnant and decide at that point to have an abortion. I don't get that. I don't get it at all. And I'll never get it because I think it's wicked. Why would you deny the right to a couple to have a child that they can love of their own when you're already 9 months pregnant? That doesn't make sense. And what makes even less sense to me is if a baby is born alive, through the process of an abortion, why would you then decide to kill it? Why would you not allow them to render whatever aid they can to help save the child and put it up for adoption in a home that will love it and provide a loving environment for it? But anyway, I know I'm preaching to the choir here because I think most of you feel as I do. Now, many of you may not feel that abortion is wrong, all the way around, and that's okay. You are entitled to your opinion. But I don't think any of you would. I don't think any of you would agree with that it's okay to kill a child once it's born. I can't imagine any of my listeners feeling that way. And I don't believe any of you do. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments below, but I think I'm pretty right on with that. Okay, Chuck Woolery. Congresswoman Hirono, Hawaii, according to her, this is how we fix the crisis at the border. Now, get ready for this. Now, you're going to have so much wisdom coming at you, you're not even going to know, like, how to grab it. It's just going to come right at you, okay? So listen to what Hirono said, Congresswoman Hirono said, because you know what? I think she's got it. I think she's just solved the whole problem. So this is how she says that we should fix the crisis at the border. Trump needs to create more jobs in the countries of Central America so people won't come here. What? It's not enough to create jobs in America. He has to create jobs in the rest of the world. Okay then. Thanks, Congresswoman Hirono. You're a genius. You don't have hole in the head disease. No. All right. Let's go down and let's get to this, which I'm having a very hard time believing, and I bet you will too, but maybe not. I don't know. I don't want to presume that I know how you think or how you feel, but let's just see. Okay, feds arrest New York man for allegedly threatening to kill Representative Ilhan Omar. Oh, well, I wonder if there'll be a Maga hat involved or a Trump supporter or a patriot. I wonder if any of that will come up in this news article. No. Well, let's just see. A 55-year-old New York man was arrested Friday for allegedly threatening to kill freshman Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, the Elmira Star-Gazette reports. The man, identified as Patrick W. Carlinio, is said to have called the Democratic lawmaker's office on March 21st and made threatening comments, according to criminal complaint filed by the Western District of New York. Do you work for the Muslim Brotherhood? Why are you working for her? She's a effing terrorist. I'll put a bullet in her effing skull, Carlinio allegedly said. Omar's office immediately reported the call to the United States Capitol Police Threat Assessment Section, which in turn got the FBI involved. While questioned by the FBI agents over the call late last month, Carlinio reportedly described himself as a oh, here it is, as a patriot who loves President Trump and hates radical Muslims in public office. I would never have seen that coming, would you? Would you have seen that coming? Wow, this just came right out of left field for me. Investigators also reportedly found a shotgun and a .22 caliber rifle at his home. The arrest comes just weeks after a Fox News host, Janine Pirro, suggested on air that Omar's wearing of the hijab might be indicative of loyalty to Sharia law, a claim which quickly sparked backlash and saw her show temporarily bumped from the air. Yeah, now, I don't know about you, but I don't know if I believe this. Don't know. And because I think they're putting stuff like this out in the news, and it's always a patriot, and it's always a Trump supporter, and they always have a MAGA hat. Except here, they didn't mention the MAGA hat. Maybe they thought that was going a little bit too far. You know, yeah, we found a shotgun and a MAGA hat. You know, I was expecting that, but, you know, maybe they thought that was just a little bit too far to go. But I don't believe it. I don't believe it. It's been investigated. Why, you know, has anything been done? Doesn't the NSA, don't they record these calls, especially like to the offices of Congress, men and women? I don't know, but I'm betting this is a hoax. Yeah. I'm betting this is planted. But maybe that's just me, because I'm cynical and suspicious. Yes, I am. Kind of like, you know, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to try and not be so chatty. But speaking of chatty, I am going to start putting some chatty stuff on my Patriot account. But anybody will be able to, you won't have to be a Patriot supporter to access it. But I've got a ton of very interesting stories. I've led a very interesting life. In fact, I have a friend that I've known like forever. Actually, really, I think I have known her forever. And she always says, "Only you, Mishel. You've got the most bizarre life I've ever heard." And I've really had a lot of interesting experiences. I remember when I was first a Christian, I prayed. I said, "Lord, I do not want to have an ordinary life," and I sure as heck haven't. Now, I would not want some of those experiences repeated, but they all played their purpose in allowing me to wake up, showing me things that I needed to know so I could inform others. And I got a lot of interesting things. So I might just do some chatty stuff. And, that way people can listen or they can not listen. All right. Let's get back to our Q-related news here. And, all right. Now, here is a feel-good story. And if this doesn't make you feel good, nothing will. Made me feel good. I love it because so often we hear about these delinquent youths and the things that they get up to. But look what this does. Look what this 13-year-old did. 13-year-old does yard work, trades Xbox for a car for his single mom. Fernley, Nevada, a selfless act to help out his single mother has the internet praising one Nevada teenager. Crystal Preston says it's been rough. On top of being a single mom to 3 kids, she has had no vehicle to drive them around. I walked everywhere I went, and if I was unable to get a ride, Preston tells Fox 35, this is all a new situation for my family. We had to completely start over with pretty much nothing. Preston says her 13-year-old son, William, has been mowing lawns and doing yard work around the community for years to earn his own money. One day, he saw a YouTube video where people get their mom a car to surprise them and decided that was exactly what he wanted to do for his mother. While going through Facebook, he saw a post from someone selling a 1999 Chevrolet Metro. That's when he asked the woman if she would trade her car for his Xbox. She said yes. William came home and said, "Mom, I bought you a car," Preston wrote on Facebook. I, of course, laughed and told him, "Yeah, right." He said, "No, Mom, I'm serious. I bought you a car. Come on, we have to go." That's when she saw a woman standing in her front yard, and her son said she was giving them a ride. At the end of the ride, William presented her with her new car. William says, "Mom, that's your car. I completely lost it. I started bawling my eyes out. I'm speechless. My 13-year-old son bought me a car." Preston says he may have his days of being a typical teenager, but she is proud to call him her son. What 13-year-old kid do you know that buys his mom a car? William, I love you, son, and thank you. You have such a big heart, and I love you. I think that is a nice story, and you think things like that don't happen, and they do, and I'm sure, a 1999 Metro, I'm sure that car's not going to last her for a long time, but it's the fact that her son would do that, trade his Xbox for a car. And the fact that this lady would say yes, I imagine that her saying yes had a lot to do with the fact that it was a 13-year-old boy wanting a car for his mom. And I think that's awesome. And I just wanted to let you guys know, when I was in, the first time I went to university, I went to Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario. And I had a friend give me a car. It was a white Subaru, and I loved that car. And yes, it was an older car, but it did me through university, and I was forever grateful. So there are people in the world that do things, good things for others, and I want to be that kind of person. And I'm sure most of you do as well. So I like it when I've tried to pass on the blessings that I've got in my life from people, and they've been many. I've had the blessing of having wonderful people in my life, and I continue to have wonderful people in my life. I continue to have wonderful listeners. I could not have asked for better listeners if I had handpicked you all. Seriously, and you're even polite to one another. It's amazing at how nice you are to one another. And if somebody's mentioned something, other people say, "Oh, well, I'll pray for you." And, I really like that. So if you have something, if you're going through something, a physical or whatever, put it in the comments. And there are other believers that listen and will pray for you. And I think that's what it's all about. So anyway, yeah, I have great listeners. I just do. And the listeners that aren't so great, which are very few and far between, if I see people being nasty, I don't care so much about people being nasty to me. I'll stand for that for quite a long time before I literally block them. But I don't block them. What I do is I mute them so that nobody can see their comments, and so they think they're leaving nasty comments, but nobody will ever see them. But yeah, so if you're being nasty to someone, to one of my listeners, though, that's different. You get blocked. So. But that is very rare on this channel, very rare. So anyway, let's go back. See, even when I try not to be chatty, I'm chatting. I don't know. I really do try. Okay, let's go on to this. Now, this ticked me off, and it'll tick you off too, but it's just par for the course for the Democrats. They said that they're claiming that Trump called all undocumented immigrants animals. He most certainly did not. And what they did was a little creative editing where they cut out the little bit before where they were talking about MS-13, and he said, well, these people are animals, talking about MS-13, not talking about immigrants. And then, of course, you've got these bleeding heart liberals who put pictures of, little children and say, these are the types of people that Donald Trump thinks are animals. Like, come on, people. Unbelievable. I don't know how these people sleep at night. I really don't. But they seem to sleep just fine. So it was MS-13 Trump called animals, not undocumented immigrants. Now, on Wednesday, President Trump posted a roundtable with local California leaders decrying the immigration laws in the country and condemned the international criminal gang MS-13. However, that's not what made the news. Instead, what spawned was a 47-second clip of Trump calling what can only be interpreted as all undocumented immigrants as animals and not people. What was missing from the clip was a comment from Fresno County Sheriff Margaret Mims, in which she specifically lamented about what she should do when trying to report MS-13 gang members who are in the country illegally. There could be an MS-13 gang member that I know about. If they don't meet a certain threshold, I cannot tell ICE about them, Mims said. We have people coming into this country or trying to come in. We're stopping a lot of them, but we're taking people out of the country. You wouldn't believe how bad these people are, Trump responded. These aren't people, these are animals. And so when you listen to it, and I'm not going to take the time tonight because I'm trying to catch up on this news, but if you take the time to listen to both comments in context, what was actually said there, and then the edited version, you can see exactly what they did. She was talking about MS-13. They clipped it here. He was responding to her about MS-13. But that's not how the news reported it. And it's most certainly not how the Democrats reported it and tweeted out all this crap saying, oh, Trump calls them animals. Well, what are they if they're not animals, MS-13? They're one of the most vicious gangs in the world. So anyway, let's go back here and I'm going to show you something else. Look at this. I mean, you think these people are not animals? Now, this is not the person that committed the crime. This is the person that the crime was committed against. Man stabbed 100 times, beheaded, and had heart removed by MS-13 gang. Oh, and these aren't animals? Really? No, actually, they're not animals. That's an insult to animals. It's an insult to animals to compare them to MS-13. Animals don't even behave that way. They don't. The only time an animal generally, unless they're rabid, will attack is for food or defense, right? I mean, they don't just go seeking out other animals, trying to rip their hearts out. They don't kill their own. Like animals don't behave this way. And yet, the Democrats will use anything to, cast Trump in a negative light. Man stabbed 100 times, beheaded, and had heart removed by MS-13. He was murdered by MS-13 gang members who stabbed him more than 100 times, removed his head, and ripped out his heart. Yeah, nice guys. Really nice guys. I think we should let them all in. Yeah, I'm sure that they're really sorry. They're probably really sorry that they did that. Probably really nice young men, and actually, Nancy Pelosi, who stood up for them, I think that she should invite this man that stabbed the other man, because I'm sure he didn't mean it. He was probably having a bad day. We all have bad days. He's probably just having a bad day. He's a really nice man. So I think Pelosi should invite him for some tea and crumpets. What do you think? They can sit down and chat. She can maybe pass on some of her wisdom. And, I don't even know why she has a door on her house, really. Because she doesn't think that we should have a door on our country. She doesn't think we should have a wall. She thinks everybody should come on in, we'll support you. Yep. Well, why doesn't that apply to her house? She wants it for our country. Not just take that door off your house, Nancy, and let everybody in. Let them raid your pantry, sleep in your beds, soil your sheets. Yeah, go on. And knock that wall down while you're at it. Because remember, walls are immoral. They are horribly immoral. Yeah, I think she should invite this man over for tea and crumpets. I'm sure he would enjoy that. I'm sure he was just having a bad day. Anybody can make a mistake and stab someone 100 times and cut their head off and then rip out their heart. I mean, that could happen to anyone, right? Yeah. Okay, let's move along now. I'm getting myself all worked up. Okay, this by Robbie Starbuck. Irony. Beto O'Rourke lies about a Muslim ban and says, seeking to ban people of one religion, what other country on the face of the planet does this kind of thing? Hole in the head disease. Seriously, he's got it. Israeli Jews are banned from 15 Muslim countries, and 8 ban anyone who's even visited Israel. Yeah. Maybe you should research these things, Beto, before you tweet them out. Do you think? Maybe? Hole in the head disease. That's what it is. Wow. But you can't expect much from a man who feeds his wife a baby turd. Really, can't expect much from a man like that. Okay, here is the next thing that I'm sure you've probably seen by now because, you know, I'm a little bit late, but just humor me. I have to show you, just in case there's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 of you that haven't seen it, because it's worth the price of admission. Yes, it is. Here we go. Let's take a look at this little gem. Now this is Alexandria Occasional Cortex, and she is at Al Sharpton, I think. It's primarily black audience that she's speaking to. Okay, now let's listen. Okay, hang on. Here.
I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working retail, folding clothes for other people to buy. There is nothing wrong with preparing the food that your neighbors will eat. There is nothing wrong with driving the buses that take your family to work. There is nothing wrong with being a working person in the United States of America, and there is everything dignified about it. I, in fact, am encouraged when people remind the country of my past, not because of anything about my story, but because it communicates that if I could work in a restaurant and become a member of the United States Congress, so can you. So can you.
Well, first of all, she neglects to mention that how she went from working in a restaurant to being a member of Congress is that she responded to a casting call and was funded, and who put the words in her mouth and trained her what to say. But second of all, what the heck is she thinking? What is that accent? Okay, I lived in the South for 20 years. Okay, first of all, it's a bad Southern accent, number one. Number two, she's from New York. She does not talk like that. I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There ain't nothing wrong with working retail, folding clothes for other people to buy. There ain't nothing wrong with preparing the food that your neighbors will eat. Well, no, there isn't anything wrong with any of those jobs. But she's speaking to a black audience. So first of all, it's insulting because she's speaking with a false accent to appeal to them, just like Hillary Clinton did. You'd think she'd learn from Hillary Clinton, but no, she didn't. Remember, Hillary Clinton was someplace down south, and she says, "I ain't no wise tired," like as if she talks like that for real. And this is absolutely ludicrous. And notice the thing, she's speaking to a black audience, and notice these things, that working retail, folding clothes, preparing food. Is that what she's saying, that's what these people are? I don't know. There's something so incredibly wrong with all of this. But that accent, that killed me. Let's just listen once again, because just for me, humor me, okay? I won't play the whole thing, but.
I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working retail, folding clothes for other people to buy. There is nothing wrong with preparing the food that your neighbors will eat.
Remember, she's from New York. New York. And not even people from the South speak like that. I mean, not like that. Well, yeah, I mean, some of them have very strong accents, and I love the Southern accent, to tell you the truth. I do. Let's go back, shall we? She is something. She is something. Hole in the head disease. Hole in the head disease. Now, Charlie Kirk, why did AOC totally change her Bronx accent to a Southern patronizing one when she was speaking to a largely black audience recently? It's no coincidence. A Yale study found that Democrats deliberately downshift their competence and vocabulary when talking to minorities. Yeah. Didn't work out so well. Didn't work out well for her. Didn't work out well for Hillary. So, you know, you'd think they'd learn, but they can't because they've got hole in the head disease from swimming around in dirty swamp water. That's exactly what caused it. Charlie Kirk again. Obama won a Nobel Peace Prize despite dropping 26,171 bombs on 7 different nations, overseeing the expansion of ISIS, North Korean missile tests every 24 days, while Donald Trump has brought peace to the Koreas, destroyed ISIS, and worked to bring troops home and end war. But do you think he will ever win a Nobel Peace Prize? No. And you know what? Why would he want one at this point? Because it's been completely cheapened. I mean, if Obama can win one, anybody can. Anybody. Nobel Peace Prize? Obama? What? And he hadn't even done anything at the time he won it. I mean, it's incredibly ludicrous. And yet, it happened. Now, here is, well, let's look at this one first. I'm just wondering, I may have to skip into, I don't know. All right, let's go to this one first. Another feel-good story. And I can tell that because I put right there a feel-good story. Now, let's listen to this. And it's 2 minutes, and it's well worth listening to.
Ups are around. Danette Mabes of South Brunswick, New Jersey says you never really know.
Because you're not watching him at that moment and at that time.
She had always just assumed her son was good.
Right.
Until recently, when 13-year-old Gavin Mabes got caught on tape showing his true character.
Oh my God!
Gavin and some middle school friends had just arrived at a skate park. The park was empty, except for little Carter Brunel, who was here with his mother celebrating his 5th birthday. Carter is autistic. Big groups of older kids can make him nervous, so his mom, Kristen, was fully prepared to get him out of there. She just wasn't prepared for what happened next.
I don't know, they've really just shocked me. It was unlike any experience I think I've ever had.
You know how middle school kids sometimes operate like they're in a pack? Well, that's pretty much what happened here. Gavin led the way, and the others followed. The only surprise was that Gavin didn't start trouble. He started a friendship.
This kid's already better than me.
Gavin's just going around with him and making him feel special. And the rest of his friends kind of followed suit and then started singing happy birthday to him.
Happy birthday.
That really blew me away. Because you just want to see the kindness in the world. And I wanted Carter to have a good birthday.
It was such a great birthday. And such a kind deed. Even the local police department responded.
And we're gonna throw you guys a pizza party next week over at school.
But here's the best part. Since their first meeting, Gavin and the middle schoolers have continued to go out of their way to play with Carter.
How you doing?
He was just so happy and he made us all happy.
So fun to be around.
Yeah.
He's rad.
And as for the moms,
You're awesome.
for them, this was a moment of parenting utopia, where the only thing better than seeing your kid treated kindly is knowing that your kid is treating others kindly, even when you're not watching.
That was so cool.
I was just so proud of him.
You want a race?
He's good.
You did it right.
Thank you.
Steve Hartman, on the road, in South Brunswick, New Jersey.
Some proud.
See, again, we hear so often of all the evil that's taking place, and that really warms my heart, because I know if I had an autistic child, I would want them to be treated with kindness like every child deserves. And that just warms my heart, because so often we hear of, kids that age and the stuff that they get up to, and it's never good. So it's wonderful to hear a story like that, and I wanted to be sure to share that with you all. All right, so let's get back to the horrible stuff now. Sorry. I wish I had more good stuff, but you know, there's only so much good stuff out there right now. All right, now here is something else which I think you guys are going to see through immediately, as we did with the person calling Representative Ilhan Omar. Here's another thing that is in the news, and again, I believe that this is planted. I don't believe that this really happened. If it did happen, it most certainly did not happen the way that they are saying it did, because there's too many triggers in here. There's just, you'll see. Suspect wearing Maga hat charged with attempted murder in alleged sword attack. Notice it says alleged. A California man, hang on here. A California man accused of slashing someone with a sword after his Make America Great Again hat was snatched off his head was charged with attempted murder, mayhem, and assault with a deadly weapon on Friday. Leor Bergland, 30, appeared in San Francisco Superior Court following his Wednesday arrest. According to the San Francisco Chronicle, Bergland was arrested in connection with the slashing outside a roller skating rink last week, that reportedly occurred after the victim, 27-year-old Gabriel Goshen, knocked the red MAGA hat popularized by President Trump's campaign. Now, notice they have to not just say MAGA hat. You know, I mean, everybody in America knows what a MAGA hat is, right? Everybody. Yeah, first of all, that has to be front and center in the story, MAGA hat. Second of all, they have to say popularized by President Trump. According to prosecutors, after Goshen knocked the hat to the ground, Bergland allegedly reached back as if to punch the victim, but instead quickly brought his hand down, holding what the victim thought was an umbrella or nightstick. Okay. David Miles, owner, how do you mistake a sword for an umbrella or a nightstick? I don't know. This guy did. Hole in the head disease. David Miles, owner of the Church of Eight Wheels roller skating rink, posted a photo on Facebook. Get this, okay? So the owner of the roller skating rink, where it happened, immediately posts something to Facebook. What does he post? Showing the iconic red hat next to a pool of blood. Why do you think he did that? A MAGA hat next to a pool of blood. And they want that out there because they knew that would make it go viral, right? They wanted everybody to know about this. And they wanted people to associate in their minds MAGA hat violence, MAGA hat violence. Patriots, violence. Trump, violence. Right? So he immediately posts to Facebook showing the iconic red hat next to a pool of blood outside the establishment. It quickly garnered attention. Well, heck yes. Especially in California, which is primarily Democrat. Prosecutors described it as one of the most gruesome photos of an assault I've ever seen, the newspaper reported. Oh. But Facebook allowed it. Couldn't have been that gruesome. Anyway, it was a Democrat that posted it. That's right. I forgot. It's okay. Goshen suffered a partially severed hand and was taken to a nearby hospital for emergency surgery. A witness to the slashing reportedly tried to chase the assailant before he disappeared into a nearby park, officials said. Police then seized the red hat and beer bottle the suspect had been drinking from at the scene, according to the paper. Police then seized the red hat and beer bottle. So I guess he ran so fast his hat fell off. I don't know. Right next to the blood, too. Oh, yeah, I guess the guy knocked it off and then he, whatever. But he was drinking from a beer bottle. So he's drinking from a beer bottle. He grabs But here's the thing. Everybody knows, everybody has seen the forensic shows where you know that if you drink from something, they can get your DNA from that. So if the guy was running away, don't you think he'd take his beer bottle? And maybe his MAGA cap. I just don't believe this. I don't, because we've seen so much fake news. We don't know. could be real. There's a possibility, but I don't believe it. No one has the right to strike someone with a sword because their hat was knocked off their head. Now, how did somebody not realize this guy drinking from a beer, having a beer, and wearing a Maga cap? How do you not notice somebody has a sword? No, really. Tell me. I'd like to know. And then, if you do have a sword, how does somebody mistake that for either an umbrella or a nightstick? I don't get it. And, you know, it's kind of hard to hide a sword. So would you go up to somebody that had a sword and knock their hat off their head? I wouldn't. I wouldn't. Anyway, the defendant has reportedly denied the incident and claimed he was at home during the attack. The Chronicle reported he did not enter a plea during his court appearance and his bail was set at $250,000. The red cap, okay, now they have to add this. The red cap has been a polarizing symbol of Trump's campaign and has sparked conflict since his 2016 election. It's all Trump's fault. That dirty, nasty Trump, racist, criminal. I mean, this is why, to me, this is so easy to see through, because it doesn't even make sense unless you have hole in the head disease. It doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. How do you hide a sword? Like, I could see a little switchblade, but not a sword. These people, like, I could come up with better stuff than this. So could you. Unbelievable. Anyway, let's go back. Okay, and I'm going to skip that one for now because we're running out of time. I'll come back to that another. Oh, and here, I'm not going to read it, but ex-Democrat, Representative, oh, is he an ex-Democrat? I didn't know that. Representative Anthony Weiner is now designated as a sex offender. Well, yeah, he should be. And I think I am going to skip this and make another video out of that, actually. So let's look at this now. Yeah, let's look at this one. I'm going to save this one for a separate video. Okay, a University of Connecticut professor requires any student who wants to enter his office to remove their shoes and say Bismillah in the name of Allah. Tell me this isn't just plain wrong on so many different levels. So here you'll see, let's listen to this. Wait.
We have our children going to school here.
Yeah. I'm a Muslim. You don't come in my office with dirty shoes. That's a curse.
Oh. So you should have told me that before.
Sign is right there. Pay attention.
Why would a student have to take their shoes off? Why would they have to say what you ordered here?
Because I'm a Muslim and I don't want them coming in my office.
But this is your office. This is not a prayer. It's not a prayer place. You have a separate place for prayer.
No, we don't.
You don't have? No. Yeah, you request one, like anybody else. You see, if a Christian put in here in Jesus' name, yes, which I say in Jesus' name, will this happen? You cannot do this to the kids.
What do you mean?
You cannot say they have to take their shoes. You cannot say what you wrote in here. I will not say what this is.
Hmm?
We're not turning off.
But they can take you if they want. Don't touch.
Don't touch.
Well, I don't understand what
do not touch.
So, you know, and anybody that has been to university knows that, you know, all professors hold office hours, right? Because you know, if you go to the lecture, and if there are things that you don't understand or you need help with, or if you have any, you know, qualms about a grade that was given, or if you have any questions about assignments given, you go during their office hours and speak to the professor. But in this particular case, this professor, okay, I don't care if I have to take off my shoes. That's, you know, that's fine. I have been in people's houses that are of a culture where that is required, that you leave your shoes at the door, and that's fine. It's respect, and I don't mind that. If I have to take my shoes off to enter his office, okay. But if I have to say in the name of Allah, or what was it that they had to say, Bismillah in the name of Allah, no. And you know, I wouldn't do that. because I don't believe in Allah. And, you know, this is, it's wrong. It's wrong. If he has office hours, there should not be conditions on people entering because he is in a public university where people pay to take his class. It's not right. But yet it's happening, and it's happening in America at the University of Connecticut. So what do you guys think of this? Would you feel comfortable going and speaking to this professor? I don't really care that he's Muslim. If he is an expert in his field, I'll learn from him. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm not going to say anything in the name of Allah. So I would be in trouble if I took his class. I would probably fail. So yeah, I think that this is extremely unfair and should not be allowed, because let me tell you, okay, you know, if I was teaching at a university or a college and I put on the door, take your shoes off and say, you know, blessings in the name of Jesus Christ to enter, I'm sure many would find that offensive, and rightfully so, because, you know, there is, now, I believe in the Lord, I serve the Lord, but you cannot force that on other people, and you just can't. And it's a public place, it's a job you're being paid for. You know, I remember somebody being upset because we were working in a corporate environment. It was actually one of the Fortune 50 companies, and somebody was putting in their email below, you know, it was very it was very evangelical. It was basically, you know, preaching to people in the email below, and this was being sent to heads of corporations and this and that, and this person was spoken to about it, and they said that, well, they were facing religious persecution. No, you're not, because you're paid to do that job. You're not paid to preach. If you are a preacher or if you are on your own time, yes. If you know, I mean, if you want to bring your Bible to work and read it during your break, fine. But if you're reading it while you're being paid, that is theft of time, right? And you have every, you know, if someone comes and says, look, don't read your Bible, get back to work, that's not religious persecution. You know, you're stealing time from the company. Read it on your break, read it on your lunch hour. Now, if they say you are not allowed to read your Bible on your lunch hour, well, now that is a whole different story. But anyway, let's go on, shall we? Yes, we shall. So let's get rid of that, and so that I'll know that I've covered that. And let me see. I'm going to hit on one more thing here, and then I'm going to come back with another short video, and that will be it for tonight. But let me show you this, because I think this is very interesting and odd. Well, what else would you expect? All right, and this is from New Straits Times, and it says, alarm as mysterious deadly fungus sweeps the globe. And apparently there's no cure for this. It's a type of, I believe, candida that responds to no medicine. So let's take a look at this. Candida auris is so tenacious in part because it is impervious to major antifungal medications, making it a new example of one of the world's most intractable health threats, the rise of drug-resistant infections. Now, it says, in May, an elderly man was admitted to the Brooklyn, New York City branch of Mount Sinai Hospital for abdominal surgery. A blood test revealed that he was infected with a newly discovered germ as deadly as it was mysterious. Doctors swiftly isolated him in the intensive care unit. The germ, a fungus called Candida auris, preys on people with weakened immune systems, and it is quietly spreading across the globe. Over the past 5 years, it has hit a neonatal unit in Venezuela, swept through a hospital in Spain, forced a prestigious British medical center to shut down its intensive care unit, and taken root in India, Pakistan, and South Africa. Recently, C. auris reached New York, New Jersey, and Illinois in the United States, leading the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to add it to a list of germs deemed urgent threats. Why aren't we hearing about this in the mainstream news? It was probably planted. It affects those with a weakened immune system, which are the young and the elderly, mainly. There are others with weakened immune systems, but sure, a good way to reduce the population. You kill off the young and the elderly. I'm just saying. I know. I'm a conspiracy theorist. What do you expect? I look at things through that lens because it's so prevalent and they're so out there with it that they're wanting to reduce the world population. But then people call us crazy when we see things like this and we say, well, it could be that this is planted. Anyway, let's go on. The man at Mount Sinai died after 90 days in the hospital, but Candida auris did not. Tests showed it was everywhere in his room, so invasive that the hospital needed special cleaning equipment and had to rip out some of the ceiling and floor tiles to eradicate it. Everything was positive. The walls, the bed, the doors, the curtains, the phones, the sink, the whiteboards, the poles, the pump, said Dr. Scott Lauren, the hospital's president. The mattress, the bed rails, the canister holes, the window shades, the ceiling, everything in the room was positive for this fungus. C. auris is so tenacious in part because it is impervious to major antifungal medications, making it a new example of one of the world's most intractable health threats, the rise of drug-resistant infections. For decades, public health experts have warned that the overuse of antibiotics was reducing the effectiveness of drugs that have lengthened lifespans by curing bacterial infections, once commonly fatal. But lately, there has been an explosion of resistant fungal, as well as adding a new and frightening dimension to a phenomena that is undermining a pillar of modern medicine. It is an enormous problem, said Matthew Fisher, a professor of fungal epidemiology at Imperial College London, who was a co-author of a recent scientific review on the rise of resistant fungi. We depend on being able to treat those patients with antifungals. Simply put, fungi, just like bacteria, are evolving defenses to survive modern medicines. Antibiotics and antifungals are both essential to combat infections in people, but antibiotics also used widely to prevent disease in farm animals, and antifungals are also applied to prevent agricultural plants from rotting. Some scientists cite evidence that rampant use of fungicides on crops is contributing to the surge in drug-resistant fungi infecting humans. Yet, as the problem grows, it is little understood by the public, in part because the very existence of resistant infections is often cloaked in secrecy. With bacteria and fungi alike, hospitals and local governments are reluctant to disclose outbreaks for fear of being seen as infection hubs. Even the CDC, under its agreement with state, is not allowed to make public the location or name of hospitals involved in outbreaks. State governments have, in many cases, declined to publicly share information beyond acknowledging that they have cases. All the while, the germs are easily spread, carried on hands and equipment inside hospitals, ferried on meat and manure, fertilized vegetables from farms, transported across borders by travelers, and on exports and imports, and transferred by patients from nursing home to hospital and back. Candida auris, which infected the man at Mount Sinai, is one of the dozens of dangerous bacteria and fungi that have developed resistance. Yes, there's a fungus among us. There is. Yet, like most of them, it is a threat that is virtually unknown to the public. Other prominent strains of the fungus Candida, one of the most common causes of bloodstream infections in hospitals, have not developed significant resistance to drugs, but more than 90% of Candida auris infections are resistant to at least one drug, and 30% are resistant to 2 or more drugs, the CDC said. Dr. Lynn Sosa, Connecticut's deputy state epidemiologist, said that she now saw C. auris as the top threat among resistant infections. It's pretty much unbeatable and difficult to identify, she said. Nearly half of patients who contract Candida auris die within 90 days, according to the CDC. Yet the world's experts have not nailed down where it came from in the first place. It is a creature from the Black Lagoon, said Dr. Tom Chiller, who heads the fungal branch at the CDC, which is spearheading a global detective effort to find treatments and stop the spread. It's bubbled up and now it is everywhere. As the CDC works to limit the spread of drug-resistant Candida auris, its investigators have been trying to answer the vexing question, where in the world did it come from? The first time doctors encountered C. auris was in the ear of a woman in Japan in 2009. Auris is Latin for ear. It seemed innocuous at the time, a cousin of commonly easily treated fungal infections. 3 years later, it appeared in an unusual test result in the lab of Dr. Jacques Mies, a microbiologist in somewhere in the Netherlands, who was analyzing a bloodstream infection in 18 patients from 4 hospitals in India. Soon, new clusters of Candida auris seemed to emerge with each passing month in different parts of the world. The CDC investigators theorized that Candida auris started in Asia and spread across the globe. But when the agency compared the entire genome of auris samples from India and Pakistan, Venezuela, South Africa, and Japan, it found that its origin was not a single place and that there was not a single auris strain. The genome sequencing showed that there were 4 distinctive versions of the fungus with differences so profound that they suggested that these strains had diverged thousands of years ago and emerged as resistant pathogens from harmless environmental strains in 4 different places at the same time. And I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. Because if they've been here for thousands of years, then why are we just hearing about it now? Can you imagine a man that had it in the Mount Sinai hospital? After he died, they even had to rip out parts of the ceiling. Absolutely everything in the room was contaminated. That is mind-boggling. Somehow it made a jump almost seemingly simultaneously. What are the odds of that? What are the odds that 4 strains that are very different from one another would make the jump simultaneously and seem to spread, and it is drug resistant, which is really mind-boggling. Oh yeah, I would say it is mind-boggling, and I don't believe that it's an accident. That's just me. And remember all the microbiologists that died suddenly? Oh, a whole bunch of them. Yeah, there was a bunch of them, and I would have to go back and look for that information, but it was a few years ago, not sure how many years ago now, because sometimes it seems like it was just like a year ago when really it was like 10 years ago, but it wasn't, decades ago anyway. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I would love to know what you think. And let's go back here, and I think that's going to be it for tonight. I'm going to come back with one more video. It will be a fairly short one, but I will be back, and I will hopefully see you then. So that's it for now. Always remember to seek truth, because deception bites.